Lewis Richardson, Colchester boy, born and bred, Essex lad. My first question to you, mate, is so why boxing? Right from the start.
The 1v1, the accountability, the fact that you win and that's on you. You get your hand raised, there's no one else sort of, oh yeah, well, yeah, but you didn't score the winner, or you didn't kick the conversion. No, it's you in there, and I love that. And I used to love team sports at school, and even now, should I get the opportunity to have a kick around or do team sports, I equally enjoy that. But I think from a competitive point of view, I just love that one-on-one factor, and even the other individual sports like tennis. Obviously Wimbledon's on at the moment, and I think there's a lot of transferable skills because there's no hiding place, of course, in the boxing ring, and it's down to you to put the work in beforehand to then get the result as a consequence. And I feel like boxing's one of the most honest sport in the world. And if you don't put the work in, then the chances are at some stage you will get found out. And for me, for my attitude, my mindset of non-negotiables of working hard and applying yourself, I think boxing's a good fit for that.
I like the word honest. Why do you use the word honest?
The nature of the beast in boxing, you have to be honest with yourself, because when you get in the ring, it's it can be a very humbling experience. So I feel like cutting out the noise, whether that be good or bad noise, but just listen to yourself, listen to your team, and putting the work in. And putting the work in is not just working hard all the time. It's a holistic approach of eating the right foods, getting the right recovery, being around the right personnel. And I know we'll touch upon it later, but transitioning into professionals, getting the right team around you is very, very important. And yeah, you need to stay. Of course, we hear humble a lot, but honest is another term.
And not lying to yourself. One of right, you're going to hate this name or love this name, probably hate it. One of my favourites, if I'm honest, is Kishniak. I love Kishniak, and for people who know you as an amateur, they know your journey through the injuries and the upsets and things like that. But Alexander Kishniak seems to be like one of the main reasons for the biggest hurdle in your career. When you were trying to qualify for Tokyo, and you had the hardest bastard of a draw ever in getting Kishniak. So when you drew Kishniak, what was kind of going through your mind as you were on the road to Tokyo?
To be honest, those few months, which was, I won the Olympic test event in October 2019, and that was my sort of breakthrough moment for GB boxing. Got moved on to podium squad, went to Kazakhstan on a training camp. There was like 6 middleweights at the time, and there was, all 6 of us went out to Kazakhstan for then selection for the Olympic qualifier. Sammy Lee got the nod, who was an established 81 kg fighter and was believed to be making the drop down to 75, and I got the reserve spot. And I think that's testament to, I think the coaches can see that I'm the sort of athlete that I will always stay on it. I'll be disciplined and I'll do the right thing. So should that opportunity arise, then I'll be ready. And the opportunity did come, and I won my first bout in the qualifiers, and then the tournament got postponed due to COVID, and I believe I had around 15 months to prepare for Kuzniak, which I always say can has the ability to make or break a person. But I just see it as a challenge, and I love a challenge. Of course, 15 months later, I got in the ring with him and it didn't go my way, but I'm proud of the way I applied myself throughout those 15 months. I got fitter, I got stronger, I got better. I tried, and at the end of the day, all you can do is try. And of course, it wasn't enough, but I'm okay about that. It was tough, and I think what made it tougher was due to COVID and the whirlwind of the couple of years that the whole world had, I only got one chance to qualify. You know, every other Olympics, there's 3 chances to qualify. But just the way it fell, it was that only chance. And you know, at the time, I felt like I was good enough, and I still believe I was good enough to be in the top 20 middleweights in the world, or be at the Olympic Games. But in hindsight, was I ready to medal? Probably not. And would Paris have happened? Very unlikely, because I would have, you know, went to the games in Tokyo, maybe medalled, maybe not, but then I would have very likely transitioned to pro. I certainly wouldn't have ever considered dropping down to 71, because I would have already achieved, you know, what I'd achieved. So it's you know, in hindsight, well, at the time it was difficult, but in hindsight, you understand why.
So I'm thinking you've lost to Kishniak. That's your only chance because of COVID, etc. And it looks bleak. You know, it looks bleak, but it's really interesting. You said the word hindsight. Looking back now, potentially that Kishniak loss, you wouldn't be where you are now. You know, potentially, as you know, as a bronze medalist in the Olympics. You know, it's interesting how this goes, but the fact that you stayed the course, I think, is giving you those kind of rewards or those opportunities now.
Yeah, and it's not even. I mean, the result plays a big part. The fact that I didn't beat him and go on to qualify, but it's more about, I think, what would have supported me to get to Paris is just the approach. You know, I tried and I really applied myself, and that experience gains. You know, the mental strength. When I had people, basically, it felt like people had considered me being lamb to the slaughter, so to speak. But I didn't have that mindset. I went in there, you know, thinking I was gonna go do the job, and done everything I could, I believe, you know, to do that. But we all know Kuzniak, and we all know what sort of beast he is.
So tell me about this then, mate. Perez, a gentleman called Perez that you're boxing, right? That's the one that sends you to Paris. I just can't get my head round when you beat that guy, what bloody merry-go-round must be going in your head to go, I'm an Olympian. Talk to me about that, mate.
Yeah, like I still get I've got goosebumps you just saying that, but yeah, it was just there's so many emotions. I was so emotional, you know. I'm sure you watched, and I just couldn't stop crying for hours. To be honest, it was just it was just crazy. The most, you know, the proudest of moments for me to you know, to be able to call yourself an Olympian. And Fraser Clark posted last month, because it was, I think, 4 years to the day he qualified, and he was like, you know, nothing will ever, well, not nothing will ever top this moment, but it was a very, very special moment. And I feel like for any, you know, for any person, any boxer who really has to go through it to go and achieve it, it means a hell of a lot. Like, it was just the most special day of my life, for sure, up to date. I had to date.
Can I make a little comparison? What was better? Was it better qualifying for the Olympics, or the moment you knew you were in the medal position? What was better? Quite curious.
Qualifying for the games.
Because I reckon if you ask that to the layman, I think they would probably think, I wonder if Lewis will probably say when we medalled. But I was thinking to myself, I bet it's not. I bet it's actually when he qualified for the Olympics.
Yeah.
Why is that the case?
I just feel like the adversity I had to come through to qualify for the games, the challenges, the setbacks, and you know, it was just so hard to qualify that it just felt like it was getting, the percentages, the chances were getting less and less, and I just feel like I ripped the script up and created my own one and made it happen, and it makes it, you know, so much sweeter knowing that I'd done everything, explored every possible avenue to go out there and go and fulfill a dream, and the dream was to become an Olympian. You know, for me, going to the games was a celebration. I compare it to university or getting a degree, and it's a case of you study for years and years and years, and you have your graduation day, and you throw your hat up in the air, you get a picture, everyone claps you, and you get back off stage, or your day's done. So the Olympics, so the 3-4 weeks was in Paris. That was my graduation from the amateur game. That was my moment for the whole world to witness who Lewis Richardson was and what he was about, and I'd done it all with a smile on my face because it was my time to pick up my certificate, and that certificate was an Olympic medal.
Were you kind of urged to look back at your journey, because I know injury has been a problem over the years, and then of course there's the whole weight classifications changing, and you having to come down to light middle. These are all almost like. It's almost like fate saying, "Sorry, Lewis, this ain't for you, mate."
There have been injuries present, but people, and there's been a few articles to suggest about injuries, but injuries have never prevented me from going to a major. So my injuries have always just been sort of in the back burner, or I've managed them, or they've fell at a better time where it hasn't affected majors. It's been the uncontrollables for me, so the governance issues with IBA and just the Olympics sort of set up with that, but in the weight changes, the uncontrollables, they were the biggest factors that I thought, wow, this really isn't meant to be. Or there were moments throughout those 2022 and 2023 where I was like, no, this isn't meant to be. And I probably did lose faith at some stage, but for whatever reason, and there were a few contributing factors, but we sort of regained that, and I just absolutely went for it and made the weight and done the business.
And I think a lot lesser men would have, they would have lost the faith, but continued not to control the controllables, as you say.
And that's the thing, like where I had a lack of purpose from a boxing perspective, I still kept myself fit. I still apply myself within education outside of boxing, but also within boxing, I was, within boxing or within fitness, I was still out there running half marathons and out there doing sort of fitness challenges to keep myself fit and healthy. So when the time was right, whenever that was going to be, whether that would be pro, whether that be amateur, it was when the time was right. I was able to go and be fit.
So where does it come from, mate? People talk about nature, nurture, and all this sort of stuff, but where does this desire? Because you're so well respected on this just for your persistence. All your attainment, your skill, etc. Yes, but your persistence, your desire. When life takes a great big dump right on your shoes, you manage to bounce back. So what do you think? Where does that come from in you?
I don't know, really. I think my brother has a big impact on my life. I think he was a fantastic role model for me. There was a lot of love at home. So mum and dad, although separated, always showed us a lot of love and let us sort of spread our wings and do whatever we wanted to do, within reason. But they were always very willing to allow us to, if we say, "Oh, mum, there's a skydive out there, I'm gonna go do it." The financial support wouldn't be there, or even like necessarily physical support, but the sort of the support to be like, "Yeah, okay, son, be safe, go do it." That was there, so we never got stopped doing anything we didn't want to do. So everything I've sort of done in life, or a lot of what I've done in life has been through my choice, and nothing's forced. And I've just tried to sort of just live a fulfilling life with a lot of positives, and I feel like I've done that. I've interacted with so many, like, thousands of people, like, in my life, and I believe more often, very very more often than not, I leave a positive impact on those lives, and likewise I like to receive a positive sort of impact, feeling, emotion from the people I interact with. But I don't know where it comes from. I think there's definitely an inner drive in me to be the best version I can be, because like so many boxers, I come from pretty humble beginnings with not a lot of success, you know, within the community and within my surroundings. So I wouldn't say I feel like I'm better than that, but I just feel like for whatever reason I've got something to give, and I'm definitely wanna sort of pursue that and reach that to the maximum.
I think one thing that you said there, you know, like your parents give you choice and things like that. I think autonomy, you know, the given the opportunity to make choice and things like that is quite a strong, powerful thing in terms of motivation, self-determination, things like that. So I kind of wonder if the fact that you haven't been micromanaged or, you know, kind of you know, how do they call it, helicopter parented or anything like that. I wonder if maybe that's part of the reasons why you've been given the opportunities to make those choices, and when it's been tough, you've made those choices because you've had practice at making choices, as opposed to here's a silver platter, choose this. You see what I mean?
Yeah,
I don't know, that's something, but it's the first thing that came to my mind, is that choice is a powerful thing in terms of motivation. Let's bring it back to the Olympics again, mate. The Verdi bout, we lose on a 3-2 split. When you're stood there, what's going through your head, you know, as the announcement's about to be made?
I'm thinking I'm going to be in the Olympic final. I was like, wow, this is crazy. I knew it was close, but I just felt like it was going to happen. I went into the last round, I think up on 2, down on 1, and level on 2. So it's just on those final 2, and unfortunately they both went against me. And you know, right initially it was tough, but I was just so conscious to not let that sort of negatively impact my Olympic experience, because you know I was literally living out my childhood dreams. I was living them out, and I think because obviously I'd done so well in the tournament, I only had like four days post tournament before the closing ceremony, so there wasn't loads of time, but I was conscious that, you know, I was very focused in the games, but also spent time around the tournament to go to different events and enjoy my time. But obviously, there's only so much that you can do, because you're very conscious of preparing best for competition. But yeah, the initial you know feeling was disappointment, but I was so conscious to flip that, and Team GB done an absolutely fantastic job of doing that. I had media commitments the next morning, very early. Only slept like 2 hours, and then I had a lot of media duties to do, and you know I went into Team GB house, and it was a massive round of applause and a massive congratulations rather than commiserations. And not everyone fully gets it, you know, that you have to lose a fight to win a medal. So they might just think, oh well, you're in a race and you won bronze, you come third. But obviously, it's a funny dynamic in boxing. But it was a very special feeling, and Team GB were absolutely fantastic with that, and that's definitely helped to flip the switch. I had my family out there, and everyone was just, you know, so happy and proud. Obviously, the athlete in me, of course, wanted to win and be in an Olympic final and, you know, go and win Olympic gold. But, you know, the younger me looking up at that kid, you know, looking up at that man in the ring, and, you know, got my tracksuit on, get my Olympic medal. It's like, wow, that is unbelievable.
When the bout was on, we stopped our gym. We were training that day, seniors, and we stopped it, and we wheeled in a TV, and we put it up, and we just stopped, and the whole of our gym watched it. And it was like suddenly my gym had turned into a pub. It was a bit like that, just minus the booze and the fights. And we stopped and watched it, and we had quite a lot of beginners and novices there. Didn't really kind of get what it was all about, but we had lots of boxers who knew you and understood what it was. And it was quite a strange thing. It was quite a strange thing how, like, everybody just was resting all their hopes. You know, that, come on, Lewis, you can do it. And then it was like, do you know what? We think he's done this. We think and everyone's going, what do you reckon? What do you reckon? And everyone's going, I think he's done enough. You know, that old adage, I think he's done enough.
Yeah.
And we're all thinking that, and you know, and it went afterwards, obviously it went really, really flat. But I just wonder if you've had that sort of thought around how many pubs, living
I
rooms
know.
all around the world
I
were just loving you and had so much faith in you. And, you know, another day it goes your way and you're in the final and maybe a gold medalist. But it's just to think so many people in different walks of life, different places were just there for you.
I know, you know, for so many occasions I've been like nearly man, or, you know, he's good, but he's not quite good enough and things like that. But, you know, for that period of time at the Olympic Games, you know, I was Team GB's only boxer to win a medal. Not GB Boxing's only boxer, but Team GB's only boxer.
Yeah, it was said, I get it.
Yeah. You know, to win a bout. So, you know, I was the man for that moment, and it was, and I feel like I embraced that, and but also, you know, stayed true to myself and my values, and I didn't try and force anything or be anyone I wasn't. And you know, I received a hell of a lot of love, like during and post games, just for the way I sort of come across. You know, a lot of people comment in my interviews and saying sort of just how honest and articulate and just the way I, you know, it was very just pure. It felt like for them watching. So that was, you know, really nice to hear. And I want to be someone that can be relatable to the masses. And you know, within the UK, I love the Olympics because it's probably the only time the country gets behind their own fully. You know, you have your other sporting events, but it's a bit of a diluted market, whatever sporting event that is, or you have your other moments, your festivals and things like that. But, you know, for whatever reason, and it's an absolute beautiful thing and a blessing for me. But the Olympic Games brings the whole country together, and they get behind them, get behind their athletes, and it's very special to you know, to even think about how many thousands and millions of people were watching me and supporting me. And, you know, I remember post games going up to Manchester and someone come up to me and I was like, it's just crazy. And it's like in London, you know, people coming up to you, and it's like, of course, Colchester is life's quite different now in Colchester. It's still, listen, I can still go and go have a bit of food in peace, but it's it's very different to what it was, and I love it. You know, I'm very grateful for it. And, you know, I'll always make time for anyone out there that is making time for me. And, you know, especially the youngsters when they get excited and things like that. It's just so powerful. But I just want to show people that, you know, that I'm a real person. You can touch the medal, you can touch me. Like this could be you, sort of thing, and whatever path of life that you decide to take it down.
Fantastic, mate. And then eventually we decided to turn pro. So what lessons are you taking from the Olympics, from your amateur career, that's going to help you in your pro career?
What lessons? To enjoy the journey.
You seem like a very journey-based, process-based man.
Yeah. To enjoy it. To be present. You know, to be grateful. Just be in that moment and apply yourself. It's quite a short window, obviously, being a sportsman, and, you know, the years are flying by for me at the moment. I'm 28, and I think, wow,
28 then, yeah.
I've been boxing full time for like 6-7 years, and it's just absolutely flying by. I've had the most amazing memories. You know, my 20s have been absolutely wonderful. I think, wow, like, what a life I've lived. I was speaking about it with my coach today. It's like, yeah, what an amazing life I've lived. And you know, I'm only 28 / I'm already 28. So it's just a case of, you know, continuing to sort of keep that process. I think presence is a massive thing, because, like, it was difficult post Olympics because there was just so much going on, and I was like trying to journal as much as I could, but it was just like a whirlwind. Like, I was doing some things that a kid like me, or, you know, a man like me, you know, arguably shouldn't be doing, like some of the events and some of the people I was meeting. But I just you know, absolutely went with the flow. But it was hard to really appreciate everything because it was happening so fast, and it was just one day after the other. But now things have slowed down ever so slightly, or not necessarily slowed down, but I've just found a better balance. You know, I've got people within the team to support me support me with certain aspects, and so their lessons I will certainly take, because my mind was so clear at the Olympics. I could really I can picture so many things, and plus I've got a journal that will tell me things that I may have missed. So it's like, and that's actually one thing I'm really proud of for my debut. I was really present again in my debut, and I'm really happy about that, because the ring walk for me was special. You know, I was at Portman Road in Ipswich, which is close to Colchester. I'd sold a lot of tickets. I'd done well. Queensbury were very happy with my ticket sales, but there was far more people cheering for me than just the people who bought my tickets. So it was a really like another sort of goosebumps moment. The performance, the ring, you know, I'm used to that. I've been doing that for years and years, but you don't really get that glamorous ring walk as an amateur. You get big ones. The Olympic Games was big and things like that, but this was at a stadium, so it was you know, it had that extra touch, and picking your own song and picking your own fight kit. It was like I was super present in that moment, and that's what will last. You know, that memory from the pro debut will last for me for a long time, similar to what the Olympic Games did.
And are there any sort of adaptations that you need to make from the amateur game to going into the pro? You know, I think you boxed six threes, didn't you, on your debut? You know, and that'll go up soon, won't it? So are there any sort of adaptations you have to make with your style, or how do you bring your amateur style through and make that still a superpower?
How do you define adaptations?
Well, it's still the same sport, but it's longer. You know, there's 6 rounds, there's 8 rounds, there's 10 rounds, etc. Are there any adaptations, or is it just a case of how Lewis boxes? We turn that into we keep his super strengths and make them even more of a problem for the opponents.
Yeah, I think there's you know a case for you know for continuing to work on them, but it's just like for me. People say you're going to change your style. I'm not going to change my style. I'm going to add to my style.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make additional improvements, and I'll add to it, but I won't change, because it's got me to where I am today. And I think the beauty of, you know, my mindset, my drive, my work ethic is I know I'm going to be fit going into these fights. So I haven't got to worry that if I'm moving a lot, or if I'm doing certain movements or this or that, like I'm not going to tire. And people have always doubted me for, you know, not being strong enough or not being resilient enough. And I don't know where the resilient bits come. Maybe it's from appearance, because, you know, I'm not a super, like, not got massive arms or things like that. But it's like, you do extremely well to break me mentally, because of the experiences, like having 15 months to prepare for Kuznyak, or just because of my mindset that I'm very strong-willed, and you know, you have to be like, Kuznyak never broke me. He got on top of me like he does with every other fighter in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but mentally, I was never broken. I never ever quit. And you'll see that in tougher fights and longer rounds with me. And it's exciting, because it will just not necessarily be proving people wrong, but it will just be showing another wider audience what I'm about. You know, not necessarily from a physical point of view, but from a mental point of view.
So technically and tactically, we've got it down, and the mental side of the game as well is, as everyone knows who's been involved in boxing, probably the most important side.
Yeah, of course.
You know, and you have that in abundance. So it's for me, you're ticking all those boxes, aren't you? You're ticking all those boxes, especially, you know, and when I say mental, I don't just mean you've got to be tough to stay in the fight when someone's, you know, when it gets tough. For me, it's also the long term, getting up and doing the runs, eating the right things. That's the mental side of things as well. The commitment.
And it's not easy. I don't get out every morning thinking, I can't wait to do this today. This is going to be tough, I can't wait. But it's just like, it's non-negotiable. You know, you got to do it, and you can't find excuses and things like that. And if you do, you know, they'll rack up, and it will become like a behaviour pattern, that you miss a session on a Monday, or you miss that session on a Thursday afternoon. It's like, you can't listen. There's going to be odd occasions where you do have to miss a session, but like, I was a little bit poorly before my debut, and like luckily it was only like a 72-hour sort of cold, but the following week I had to make those sessions up for my peace of mind to know that, you know, the work's been put in. It's not a case of, oh, don't worry about last week or don't worry about yesterday, it's gone now. It's like, no, you got to make that up. And of course, you know, that comes with finding the right rest and recovery and things like that. But yeah, I believe I've got a good team around me to make sure that I've got a good balance.
So, mate, so who are those kind of professional boxers, either past or present, that you admire or maybe hope to emulate in your pro career? Who are those kind of idols?
I'd say Joe Calzaghe's is definitely one. Luke Campbell also. No, I say, you know, potentially not emulate, but I look up to him from a professional point of view. I believe, you know, he boxed the best. I know he never won a world title, which I have ambitions to do, but I believe, you know, he only fell short to the elite. So yeah, like I would say past. Well, Luke's obviously passed as well now, but certainly, yeah, people like Joe Casey, it's just southpaws really for me. And then in more recent years, like your Lomachenko's and your Usyks, you know, their movement patterns are beautiful. And my style isn't necessarily like Lomachenko's, but you can it's beautiful to see the angles and again, just how he'll break fighters down. And it's not just breaking them down from being a big hitter. It's the pressure, it's the IQ, and I think that's really impressive.
But interestingly, thinking about all those boxers, it's almost like, you know, they're incredible, the southpaws, etc. But it's almost like I don't actually see them in you and how you box. Your style is very much different to how they box. Maybe Campbell a little bit in parts, but your style is quite unique. I don't see all of those parts. So you have your own sort of way of doing things.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like I've named a few there, but it's like there's not one definitive boxer I sort of you know class myself off or base myself off of, because you know I'm my own unique fighter. And so it's like I don't necessarily study them fighters. I just remember watching them thinking, yeah, they're good fighters. I love what they do. You know, I know, of course, I have an extra appreciation for southpaws.
So, educated man, got yourself a sneaky little master's in sports business management, Sheffield Hallam. So how did tell us about your education? So how does that fit with being a GB boxer? I know we're going back slightly, but I still think the whole education part is part of it's who you are and it's part of your mindset, I think maybe.
So I left school. Not one of the best schools in Colchester, to be honest. It was arguably one of the worst, but what I would say is I had a fantastic schooling sort of journey and time. I really enjoyed school, good friends, good teachers, things like that. Went to college, went to sixth form college in Colchester. Didn't really enjoy that, to be honest, but I really gritted and got my head down and come out with 3 A's at A level in respectable subjects, and then never really done anything with it for 5-6 years because I wanted to focus on boxing. Was a lot more settled on GB boxing come 2020, and I think it was around COVID, to be honest. It was just before COVID. I had a couple of meetings with Sheffield Hallam and sort of explained the situation, and then and so I applied for the undergrad and they actually said, we think you're ready for the masters, and I was like, result, time and money saved for a better qualification. And yeah, went on a one year course over 2 years. So I've done it part time and ended up extending due to, I think I had the Europeans and the Commonwealths when my dissertation was due. So extended for around 6 months and yeah, come out with a distinction. I think just typically the attitude and the mindset I've got, I come out with the best grade from the whole cohort of that year. Which I'm proud of, but also, you know, I wouldn't say I'm not proud, but I didn't fully enjoy that experience, and I think because I was so sort of driven, just it wasn't to be the best in the class; it's to be the best that I could be. But that level of intensity just took away the enjoyment of the studying for me, I think. And yeah, I feel like that's a lesson learned for me, because the intensity and the ethics I have for boxing, they aren't normal to the average normal man or the normal person or normal job. So it's like you don't necessarily need to give 100% to absolutely everything. So, you know, I've learned that my 80% is pretty solid as well, and that will do me fairly well in life. And then it leaves you a little bit of wiggle room to, you know, to have a bit of time off, or to just find that better balance. Of course, you know, there's certain bits around boxing. There's no 80%, there's 100% only. But outside of that in life, yes, I sort of find a better balance now.
So pro boxing is a business, right? You've still got to go there and do the business, but you know, as a whole, it's a business. So how do you feel like having a sports business management master's degree? Is that have you already seen things within what you've learned in university that think this is actually going to help me manage my career, you know, more from the business point of view?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, for now, I've got a team of support around me, which I'm very happy with. But there's definitely a greater awareness going into these meetings, or reading these contracts, or looking at the accounts, or things like that. That you think, okay, yeah, I see this already, and I've seen, you know, maybe what not to do, or what's advised to do. So yeah, there's definitely little perks seen already. But I think boxing is a very unique business. It's not like your normal contract or your normal sort of, I don't know, deal or negotiation. It's quite a unique sector.
But it must give you confidence as well, going in there knowing that you're not just some 18-year-old kid who's just come out winning the ABAs or something like that. You know what you're looking out for.
And it's such a shame. Like I wouldn't necessarily say I want to go into boxing management in the future, but I mean, it's a shame, because some of these kids just don't know what they're getting themselves into.
Sure. So what do you think fans will see in you that sets you apart then from other up and coming pros? What makes Lewis Richardson different?
He smiles more than the average boxer. He talks better than the average boxer. And you know, I just feel like I'm quite personable. I want to be relatable again, as I said earlier. You know, I want to be able to appeal to the masses, especially within the UK. You know, I mean, I'd love to be a household name, but I just want to be able to be someone who's approachable in the street, for example, and be like, oh yeah, he's a nice guy. Not even a nice guy necessarily, but he's someone, you know, who's got time for the people. So it's almost like the people's champ, I guess. And then inside the ring, you know, you said it yourself already. I'm quite unique in the ring. So, you know, if you're a boxing fan, if you're a genuine boxing fan, you'd appreciate my skill level. You'd appreciate my grittiness, my toughness, my mindset. They're all things that I believe I have in abundance, and you know, you'll see that.
When I watch you, I always appreciate your range management.
Yeah, thank you.
I always enjoy how you're able just to take a little step, whether it be backwards, sideways, and just make people miss and then ping them. That always, because I remember when you boxed Liam Forrest as an amateur, who I used to work with the dice, and it was a very comfortable win for you. And I just remember thinking that small little adjustments. Is that something that you think comes quite naturally, or is it always kind of I'm always working on that, or is it something I just kind of feel that range?
No, that I think that comes quite natural to me. Yeah, I think my range management comes fairly natural, to be honest. Of course, like you got the levels, you need to work on it more for sure, but I feel like that's something I've been gifted with, and that's just with sport in general. I feel like I can read the situation quite well. I can make those adjustments. Like I can position. When I used to play football, like I can position myself to make myself in favourable positions to win the ball, or to not give the ball away. Or basketball and rugby. So I used to play that at school, but I wasn't necessarily great at those. But I could read the game well, and I could put myself in positions where I could make a good impact and transfer that over to boxing, I can see things fairly well, I believe, and then I can make those adjustments. And that's why I think pro will suit me as well, because the amateurs was like sprint, and sometimes, you know, my first round wasn't necessarily my best round, and I would drop the first sometimes, and then I'd have to win the second and third. And, you know, at top level, it's hard to do that. It's, you know, really hard to change the judges' minds and attitudes to get you win the second and third race. You know, I'd have that little bit more time as a pro to figure them out and make those adjustments, you know, should I need to.
Sounds like it might suit your personality a little bit as well. You've got more time to figure out those puzzles as opposed to it just being over in a blur. Yeah. Just a couple more questions for you, mate. So what do you consider to be a good coach? I mean, obviously you've been under lots of different coaches, you know, Simon and all the coaches in GB, etc. What do you consider as that's good coaching?
Well, that's good coaching. I'd answer what makes a good coach. I think someone who cares for you makes a good coach. Someone who's genuinely got your best interests at heart, rather than well, it can be so many different factors, but rather than you know, trying to boost their profile, or, you know, as a professional, you know, trying to make some money off of you. Someone who's genuinely got the time and wants to be involved. Someone who has that passion, shares that passion, but also that care for you, because, you know, what I was saying earlier about I will never quit, and I have the mindset of that. If my coach felt like this wasn't going right, you need someone who genuinely cares for you to step in and say, let's make him, let's give him another opportunity to fight another day, so to speak. So I think that's what makes a good coach. I think coaching is being adaptable to the boxer, because obviously amateur or pro, you're going to get different styles. So you having this methodical one size fits all approach isn't going to work for everyone. And I've had that in the past, you know, where they're just not accommodating of my sort of needs. And I get, you know, there's adjustments to be made where it's like you need to add this to your game, but there's a difference between adding to changing someone's style. And I believe that's a key quality to make a good coach.
Yeah, absolutely. We often say you've got to be able to connect before you correct. And it sounds like that that almost summarises that. So, do we know when your next bout is yet? We
do. Okay. When's this going out, this interview?
So today is the 3rd of July. Hopefully tomorrow or the 5th.
Maybe too soon to tell you then.
Okay.
Because that announcement may be made tomorrow, but it may not be made until Monday or Tuesday. So, but okay. You'll see fairly soon.
So we can announce that there's an announcement coming shortly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I'm in camp. I'm preparing for my second pro fight.
Okay. Nice. Happy days. Okay, here's my final question for you, mate. If you could send a message to your future self 10 fights down the line in your professional career, what would that be?
Have you enjoyed the journey?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed the journey. Have you brought people along the way with you? You know, your loved ones who you want to bring along the way. Have you made some money? I hope so.
I'm already thinking little caption at the end here, mate. Have you brought people along with you? That's my favourite one.
Yeah.
Have you brought people along with you? I love that.
You know, one of my fondest memories of Paris, and I was going through my phone today and I see a video. And it massively gave me goosebumps of me winning the first bout against the Serbian, and like my family and my friends just absolutely jumping up and down, and it was just like, it made me a little bit emotional, because it's like bringing those people on the journey, and especially some of my friends and that, and, you know, particularly some of my family, they're not achieved too much or done too much in life, but you know, that will be some of their fondest memories they ever have. And I think 50 people come out for my quarterfinal bout, which secured my Olympic medal, and it was on a Saturday night, and just think, wow, it's just magical to bring those memories to people. And, you know, again, we done that at Portman Road. My fans had a fantastic night out, and it's a case of bringing the people, but also those closest to me along the way, because I'm having fantastic memories. And I remember saying to one of my sponsors who come out to Paris, I was like, "Oh, I've seen this video. Were you like, I wish I was there?" And he was like, "No, you don't, because if you were there with us, we wouldn't be here, because you're the one who's brought us on this journey." And that was really powerful for me.
Mm-hmm. And I think all you got at the end, mate, is memories, haven't you? Really, when it's all said and done, all you got those memories. Lewis, good luck with your next bout. Good luck in your career. Listen, mate, I've always admired you as a boxer, probably even more as a person. And it's great to see you doing so well, mate. And yeah, good luck to you in the future, mate. So thanks for coming on the Box Gathering. Really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Cheers, mate.